Hello baddies, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads. Today I'm going to be recommending you some sapphic books. Now, I got a request a few months ago for an updated sapphic book recommendation video. I have done one of these in the past. I believe it was in like 2019, so ages and ages ago. And that was actually one of the first videos on my channel to reach 1,000 views, so that was kind of like a milestone video for me. So yeah, it's time to finally do an update. It's been a long time coming. I usually incorporate sapphic books just in my general reading life, so you can see it in wrap-ups and in recommendation videos and things like that, but I haven't done a dedicated sapphic book rec video in a while, so it's time to do that. Okay, so I've kind of got a lot of books to share with you guys, so I am going to use timestamps for each like genre that I'm giving you recommendations in, and the first genre that we're going to talk about is romance, because I am definitely a romance girly above all else. Okay, so we've got a very recent release. This is called The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Bellefleur, and this book is so cute. So this is like a fake marriage of convenience rom-com about these two characters, Gemma and Tansy, and they decide to engage in like a marriage of convenience because Gemma is trying to get access to her inheritance. She is going to inherit this company and become the CEO, but her grandfather has stipulated in his will that she needs to be married first to get access to the company. And Tansy, if she were to help Gemma in this marriage of convenience thing, she will get like a huge payout that will help her own the bookstore of her dreams, pretty much, right? So this is a really cute, really fun, a little bit silly, a little bit absurd, but so sweet, so fun and steamy romance, and I just really loved it. I thought Gemma and Tansy were such a great couple, and they communicate with each other so well. Like, the communication in this book is some of the best that I've ever seen in a romance novel. So it's just really fun, really sweet. There's like a fun friend group. There's lots of absurd like rich people drama. The dynamic is just so fun and interesting, and it's just a good time. Okay, next we've got another romance that has something to do with inheritance, so that's a pretty weird coincidence. This book is called Satisfaction Guaranteed by Corelia Steeds Waters, and this is about these two characters, Cade and Selena, and they both end up sharing an inheritance, which is this sex toy shop that is owned by Cade's Aunt Ruth. So Cade's Aunt Ruth has recently passed away, and she leaves half of the store to her niece, Cade, and she leaves the other half to her like loyal employee, Selena. And so when Cade comes in to take over the business, her and Selena kind of butt heads about how they want to go about dealing with the business. Are they going to sell the business? Can they make it profitable, because it's not been turning a profit for some time now? So it's like a kind of co-workers, co-owners, opposites attract kind of vibe, and the dynamic between Cade and Selena is so fun because they're just such wildly different people. Cade is like a very type A, control freak kind of person, and Selena is a little bit of a hippie, go with the flow type of person, and so their energy and the way that they just kind of clash a little bit is very entertaining, and they're just such a fun couple. Like, I had so much fun reading this a few years ago, and I feel like nobody ever talks about this, so it might be like a really underrated hidden gem, so you should definitely check it out. It's a good time, it's really fun, it's really sweet, and it's spicy. I liked it. I mean, it's not like super spicy, but they do work at a sex toy shop, so I'm sure you can imagine. Up next, we have Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane, and this book is a holiday romance, but I think it could be read at any period of time and still be just as enjoyable, because this is a very dramatic rom-com, kind of a second chance romance trope. Jack. Okay, so this is about two characters named Ellie and Jack, and essentially Ellie and Jack meet one day during the winter. There's this like horrible storm, and they end up riding out the storm together, having a hookup. It's really one of those like kismet moments where you meet the love of your life. But they end up not seeing each other for an entire year, and some circumstances happen where Ellie, she's in a difficult situation, so she ends up in this fake dating situation with this guy named Andrew that she knows from her work. She goes to spend Christmas with Andrew's family, and lo and behold, Andrew is the brother of Jack, who she fell in love with last winter, that one day. And so this is about all of the family drama and relationship drama that ensues because of this whole fake dating thing she has going on with Andrew, the rekindling of her relationship with Jack, and all of the miscommunication and silliness therein. This is a really fun, really emotional romance, which I wasn't expecting because the concept is a little bit silly, a little bit wild, but I feel like the characters had such emotional depth, and even though this is kind of like insta-lovey, there was a lot of depth to the connection that they had with each other, and I just really felt like okay, these people really need to be together, and their relationship was so good. And I loved Ellie as a main character. She has anxiety, and I feel like the anxiety rep was like really spot on. So it was just great in a lot of different ways, and I would highly recommend it if you have not given it a shot already, because it's just such a good time. So we can't do a sapphic romance recommendation without mentioning Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I absolutely adore this book. And so Delilah Green Doesn't Care is about Delilah Green. She is a photographer living in New York. She's kind of a womanizing type, love 'em and leave 'em sort of girl. She ends up being requested to work as the wedding photographer for her stepsister Astrid, who she has a very strained relationship with. So she goes back to her small hometown, Bright Falls, and when she gets there, she ends up meeting Claire. Claire is someone that she knew when she was younger, and they kind of had beef because Claire is one of Astrid's friends, and they had some beef back then, but they're grown and sexy, and they're over it now, and they have a vibe together. They have lots of sexual attention, instant connection, and this is about them building on it. I love this book so much. I feel like the romance between Delilah and Claire was just really good. They had great chemistry, just a great vibe together, and I love the way that their relationship like builds up over time. I love their like emotional chemistry, but also the physical chemistry. It was very much burning up the pages. We love to see it. Delilah was a really fun, sassy sort of main character. I really liked Claire. She's a single mother, and I feel like her storyline about raising her child as a single mother and like co-parenting with her ex-boyfriend, like how that situation is going, that dynamic was really interesting. And Delilah herself, she has a side plot where we're navigating her tense relationship with her stepsister Astrid, and it was all just very like emotionally rich, but really funny and fun and lighthearted, and it just was like a perfect combination of everything that I'm looking for when I'm reading a romance. It touched me emotionally, it was really fun, it was really funny, it was steamy, the characters had great chemistry. Highly recommend it. Alright, so we're kind of leaving typical romance territory and we're getting into contemporary. But this does feature very heavy romance. So we have Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers, and this book is about a woman named Grace. And so Grace is, I want to say she's like 28. She's just finishing up her PhD. She's attempting to find a job in her career field. I believe she's not astrologist, astronomer. I think that's her field. Yeah, so she's in astronomy, and she's trying to find a job in her career field. It's really difficult, and she's dealing with like academic burnout and severe depression. She just really is kind of going through it after years and years of dedicating herself to academia, and it's left her feeling a little bit lost, a little bit aimless. And so this is kind of a coming of age story where Grace is coming to grips with like these huge life upheavals. Like she's no longer has almost the safety net of school, and she's trying to figure out who she is, what she wants to be in life. And in so doing, while celebrating the end of her PhD, she goes to Vegas and she ends up married after a drunken night out, and she ends up married to this person named Yuki. And so this is about her and Yuki like having a relationship and exploring that relationship, while Grace is also going through a lot of emotional upheaval as she's just trying to figure her life out. So there's a lot of stuff in here that I really love. I think it just has a lot of great stuff to say about being in your 20s and how confusing and wild that time can be. There's like some found family in this. There's a lot of really amazing like friendship connections in this. It really tackles like depression, anxiety, academic burnout in a way that felt intensely relatable to me, and I just love this book so much. And I also really love the relationship between Yuki and Grace, but I wouldn't say that this is like fully a romance novel. I would say this is like a contemporary novel that has a prevalent like romance side plot, but it's very good in so many ways, and it also has a really fun writing style. The writing style is very poetic, a little bit purple prosy, but I loved it, so I would highly recommend it. Alright, so this next book is a little bit different than my usual recommendations, but this is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, and this is, I'm trying to figure out the way to describe it, because it's kind of a polyphonic novel in that there are a lot of different POVs shown, because we are following this group of British women who are all connected in various ways. Some of them are friends with each other, some of them are you know, the parents of other characters or the daughters of other characters. So it's about this like interconnected network of women and their life experiences, all told in these like, you know, short chapters just about them. And it's really really beautiful. I wrote a paper on this, so there's a bunch of like tabs and stuff sticking out, but this is one of the best books I've read ever. The writing style is just beautiful, amazing, immaculate. The themes tackled, the themes surrounding like queerness, community, abuse, struggling in the aftermath of abuse, and like being a survivor, how that shapes you, the way that you connect with other people romantically, friendship, motherhood. It tackles so many different themes connected to just being a woman and being a woman in community with other women. And this is like a deeply interesting novel on so many different levels, and so I definitely recommend this if you have not read it already. Okay, so then next, kind of connected to the whole literary vibe we have going on, I want to recommend Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection, so there are a lot of different characters in this, but one of my favorite stories in this collection is called Inventory, and we follow this woman who, she's living through this really intense pandemic where people are kind of dropping like flies, and the way that we experience the story is through her telling us the inventory of her love life. So she tells us about all of these different romantic and sexual connections she's had over the course of her life, and through those like little vignettes into her life, we get to see the disease as it like ravages the country as she tries to escape it, and the people that she meets along the way. And so it does feature a several like instances of her having sapphic relationships with various women. And I feel like there's another story in here that also has a sapphic protagonist, but that's the one that sticks out to me the most, and that was my favorite of the whole collection. So I had to recommend this because it's just really, really good. It's good in general, but Inventory was a great short story in my opinion, so I recommend it. All right, before we get into some more like sci-fi speculative stuff, that one is a little bit sci-fi and speculative, but before we get into the other ones that I have for you, I have to say, read They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a thriller, kind of. Yeah, I guess it's a thriller. This is about a woman named Scarlett. So this is a thriller about a woman named Scarlett. She's a professor at this college, and she is also a serial killer. So she basically targets predatory men on campus and she kills them. And so at the beginning of this story, we find out that she has been pretty successful at hiding her murders. She's a very accomplished killer. She has been able to disguise her murders as suicides, but there has been such an intense increase in suicide related deaths on campus that the higher ups decide to investigate this to figure out what's going on and what's causing so many students to commit suicide, and is it maybe homicide. So there is a woman who is introduced to the campus. She's on the case to figure out what's going on and why the suicide rates have increased so sharply in recent years. And so her name is Mina, and so we have like this detective that is hot on her trail, and Scarlett, who is trying to stay one step ahead of her. There's also another POV in this from a character named Carly, and Carly is a student at this college, and Carly is also sapphic, and she's kind of obsessed with her roommate. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in this. I support women's wrongs to a certain extent. It was just very fun, and Scarlett was a character that I loved reading from. She's so fucked up, but I'm obsessed with her, and she in turn is obsessed with Mina, the detective on her case. And it was just so exciting and fucked up, and it was queer, and I loved it. So I would definitely recommend it if you're kind of like a thriller person. All right, so next I have a YA, and this one is The Weight of the Stars by Kate Ancrum, one of my favorite books of all time. And this is about a character, this is about high school students named Ryan and Alex. And pretty much Ryan, she has been taking care of her household all on her own for a really long time. She ends up meeting this girl named Alex who's kind of new in town, and something happens where she accidentally injures Alex, and so because of this she kind of devotes herself to Alex as like her devoted sidekick to help Alex get around while she is navigating, like, I think a broken leg. It's been a long time since I read it, but she's helping Alex like do her daily tasks and things like that. And so one thing about Alex is that her mother is an astronaut, and her mother is off in space doing some exploratory mission, and she tries to communicate with her mother using this, like, I don't know, radio satellite technology, and she climbs onto her roof every night to attempt to catch her mother's signal and speak with her. And so Ryan and Alex, they kind of bond while trying to help Alex contact her mother. And it's so, like, there's so many things in this. This has like a found family vibe. An amazing friend group is in this story, and it's a little bit speculative in terms of like the space exploration that's happening in the story is not happening in real life. So there's like a little bit of a sci-fi-y aspect. We have this budding relationship between Alex and Ryan, and it's just so beautiful. There's so many beautiful things in here, relationship-wise, friendship-wise, the family dynamics between Ryan and like her younger brother who she is helping take care of, and her younger brother has a son. So it's a whole thing. It's a lot of stuff going on in this book, okay? But it is a very like emotionally moving reading experience, and Kate Ancrum's writing style is so beautiful. So if you're into stories that are a little bit weird, a little bit emotional, and sapphic, like, you definitely need to read this. And Ryan is one of my favorite characters of all time. Like, I just loved her so badly, and I wanted to protect her, and I want her to have all the good things in the world because she's amazing. Okay. Then we've got This Is How You Lose the Time War. Wouldn't be a sapphic book recommendation video without this book. So this is an absolutely incredible sci-fi novel that is very abstract in the telling. So I want to say go into this with an open mind. Go into this willing to be a little bit lost, a little bit confused, because the author kind of wants you to be confused, because this story is set in a future so distant and so high-tech that it is like beyond our comprehension as a modern audience. So this is essentially about a time war. We're following these two characters, Red and Blue, and they come from alternate timelines. And in one timeline, they come from alternate timelines where their respective timeline can't happen if the other person's timeline happens. So they go back through the various strands of time to tweak certain things and to change certain historical events to make sure that they are on the right path for their respective futures to happen. And so they are constantly engaging with each other, battling with each other, and foiling each other's plans so that their respective futures can occur. And through this time war that they are waging against each other, they end up kind of falling in love with each other, and so they leave each other these love letters throughout various strands of time, and we're reading the letters. And so it's really, really beautiful, but like I said, very abstract and very strange, and it can be a little bit difficult to really grasp like what is going on and how the things are happening, but it's one of the most beautiful reading experiences I ever had, and I cried so many tears because it's just so beautiful and so incredible in so many different ways, and I would definitely recommend it. But like I said, your third eye needs to be open, your mind needs to be expanded, and you need to be willing to be a little bit confused. Like, you need to walk with the author, you need to hold their hand, because they're taking you somewhere beautiful. You just don't know where yet, and that's okay. Alright, gotta recommend Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. This is a really short novella, but it's incredibly fun. It's about this character who is a warlock. She's in a deal with this demon, and the demon wants her to investigate some stuff that's going on. And if she does so, the demon will give her her soul back, because she not recently, but at one point she sold her soul, and so if she does this deal with the demon, she'll get her soul back. So she ends up investigating this crime, and it lands her in hot water as she gets embroiled in this whole ancient battle between like angels and demons and all of this stuff. And it's beautiful, it's magical, and she has a really wonderful relationship with her girlfriend, who she's already with at the start of the novel. If you are someone looking for something short, sweet, and emotional to read, I would definitely recommend this one. Alright, and then I got some thick books for you to read if you are someone who's not into all that short novellas and you want something that you can really sink your teeth into. So I have Empress of Forever by Max Gladstone, one of the authors of This Is How You Lose the Time War. So if you enjoyed that, you might enjoy this. This is a epic space opera about a character named Vivian Lau, who is this tech billionaire genius woman, and she basically is creating this insane supercomputer technology, and in so doing she ends up sort of opening this like hole in the space-time continuum, and she gets sucked into this like far-flung future that is far away from Earth, and she has to find her way back home. And so this is her navigating through space, encountering all of these different planets and societies, and her trying to figure out how did she end up in space, how did she get back home, and what the hell happened. So it's a really involved, really fun, action-packed space opera with like an ensemble cast that's really fun. It's very weird and complex, a little bit convoluted, but it's so worth it in the end, and I would highly recommend it. And finally, I'm going to recommend The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. So this is a multi-POV novel slash series, and so there are these two POVs in it where we're following this couple named Falu and Renami, and they are a part of this rebellion that is rebelling against the emperor in this country because the emperor uses something called bone shard magic. But to do this magic, he collects bone tithes from his constituents, essentially. But this magic that he does, it like drains their life force, it makes people sick and all this kind of stuff. So there is a budding rebellion against his sort of despotic reign, and we are finding out more about the rebellion through the perspectives of Falu and Renami. There are other POVs in this, including straight people. Falu and Renami's sections of the story are really interesting, and their relationship dynamic is very fascinating. So if you're looking for a fantasy book with some queer protagonists, you can check this one out. So those are all of my sapphic book recs, and my huge stack just fell, but those are all my sapphic book recs. Let me know what sapphic books you've been reading and loving recently. I'd love to hear about those in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys!